I like all the Freljord cards, just all of them. I like that whole aesthetic.
Yeah. The you know what aesthetic I like? It's a 1 green 3/2 Shroud, 1 and a green regenerate card from Mirrodin. It's called the Troll Aesthetic. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Runeterrable Radio. I am Blevins. Joining me, as always, is Saucy Mailman. What's up, buddy?
What's up, dude? That was a solid 4 out of 10 intro.
Oh man, that's generous. You gave that a 4 out of 10 because
it's because you're my friend.
It's not only is that just an obscure reference. It's not even a good one because like who even remembers the card Troll Aesthetic? Like
no one.
I guess it was good in standard, in Mirrodin standard.
Yeah.
But actually not good. It was good pre Skull Clamp banning and Affinity banning.
Not even gonna pick
post Affinity banning. Yeah.
Like a troll that people know, like Lotleth troll. And then it's probably
but the pun
troll.
wasn't there. Lotleth troll is a good one.
True.
But anyway, we're marking off boxes. We're marking off boxes on the Runeterrable bingo card before the episode even starts. So again, shout outs to Crabcore for making that. That's just the coolest thing. I think I'm sure it was in the show notes for last episode if you didn't see it. It's also on Twitter, so check that out. It's just funny. But yeah, we are 1 week into the expansion. I know, Saucy, you've been playing all sorts of decks, and actually I've been playing all sorts of decks too, which is weird. Usually I hone in on one or try hard, but we're going to talk about some of the decks we've been playing, some of the decks we've been seeing, and just kind of go over. We've got sort of a list of like key cards. We got a list of key cards that some topics that either have or have not lived up to expectations. Some have sort of exceeded expectations. There's some some maybe controversy around some cards too.
What? Hold on, in this community?
I know. But there's actually one thing I forgot to put on the notes, and I wanted to address this because it comes up every time, Saucy. We see it over and over across games. It doesn't matter what games, but we see people saying that they don't like net decking, and you can't how can you be a filthy net decker and all this stuff. And Saucy and I, we come from competitive Magic, and like it's just the lay of the land, right? It does, you don't have to be the greatest net decker in the world. And you don't have to be the greatest deck builder in the world. You can just play the game. But I did, of course, want to get the opinion, to get the other side, because maybe we don't represent it. So I did take the time to talk to someone in the community and get their opinion on it. So let's take a listen. I'm never gonna get over that bit.
Never
gonna get old.
Nope.
If you don't like neck decking, just concede every time you see someone playing.
Actually, my favorite thing is I've been seeing a lot of net deckers, and there's some of the. I'm not even gonna say that there are meta decks yet, because this is a week into the expansion, and there's not a quote unquote meta, but there's decks being played. There's archetypes that people know are good, but some of these archetypes are a little harder to play. And people are net decking them and playing like shit, playing like total shit. I went against a guy today. They were playing Lysandra, Trundle, SI control. He had Mastery 4 on Lysandra and Trundle.
Okay.
Played like fucking garbage. Like just did shit that made no sense.
Yeah.
I think he killed himself with his own ice shard even. Like
you love to see it.
It was bad. Like they were just terrible. I'm like, they've played enough to do this, but terrible. So Net deck away. It's not gonna make you a better player.
Right. And on a slightly more serious note, because I mean, I've been having this conversation with Magic for, jeez, over a decade
73
now.
years.
137 years back then. Net decking meant catching a deck with an actual net.
Yeah, a
that
deck.
was the dumbest thing I've ever said.
A deck. People throwing them around.
Back in my day, net decking meant putting a protective net around our dock and our deck. Okay, that's so stupid. Okay, done. But on a serious note, I've been talking about this for a while, and for some reason, people have this opinion that like if you don't build your own deck, you're not playing the game, and I just disagree with that premise entirely. But also, like I just think that that's just a silly opinion to have. But maybe a more palatable thought process is like people get different enjoyment out of the game for different things. Like so every once in a while I'll conjure up the desire to build a deck, and I built out one of the original Emusives decks. That was fun. I also built from scratch an Aphelios Ezreal deck that ended up being all right. And then, I shopped it around to some of the pro players I know, and they made it better. And that was great. And but my passion is playing the game and actually just iterating on decks. Like I don't get a lot of joy from, taking a deck that's bad and then playing hundreds of games and getting it better. Like I would if Glop has a deck that is good, I'm going to just use that deck instead. When Rattling Bones comes out with a list of, Trundle Lissandra control, I'm just going to start there. And, if I don't like a card, maybe I'll switch one out or two. But, I just,
I hate I think one of the things, and I've been having to, today especially, we had this conversation a lot on stream, but I hate the thing that keeps going around when people attack another person for liking a certain deck or enjoying a deck. Like, if you like a deck, you should play that deck. If you don't like a deck, just don't play that deck.
Right.
Easy.
Yeah.
If someone really likes playing Fiora, play Fiora. She's great. She's strong right now. Just let someone enjoy playing the things they like. Whatever.
Yeah, it's just silly, is all I'll say. Yeah, we don't need to go too deep on it. We may have even talked about it on the podcast every once in a while. It pops up in the Twitterverse, and it's just it's just a shit take to have. It is what I'll be.
I love it when someone comes into my stream and I'll be playing something, and people say I don't like Swain, so since you're playing Swain, I'm not watching your stream. Okay, cool, double thumbs up. I'm gonna keep playing what I'm enjoying. Lysandra Swain is a super fun deck, by the way. So there's that.
I have not played the Lysandra Swain, but it definitely seemed like one. It was on my my list for sure. But speaking of lists, that was an aside I didn't plan on going on, but I had the sound clip lined up, so I figured I'd use it. Wanted to get a little bit of housekeeping. So, as many of you in the Discord know, we talked about it at the weirdly at the end of the show because I completely forgot to say it at the beginning of the show. Not that it really mattered, but we did have our first giveaway for the new set. We gave away 10 battle passes for Shurima, and that happened in the Discord, discord.me/Runeterrable Radio, and we got the prizes to everybody. So congrats to everyone who won. And if you are listening to this now and we're like, oh man, I wish I could have gotten in on the giveaway, join the Discord, discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. We're not running one currently, but that will be where the Discord or where the giveaways will be housed. We have a giveaway channel. Yes. There's a bot in the Discord that runs it all automatically. So it's super easy. You just need to react to the thing, the post when it's in there. It's literally called giveaway channel. You can't possibly miss it, and it couldn't possibly be easier. So now, if you're listening to this, you have no excuse not to be in the next one. So
Yep.
Shout outs to everyone who won, and just shout outs to everyone who entered, because Saucy and I are fortunate enough to have been able to do this, and we're glad that we can give back to the community a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Do we want to get into some meat and taters?
Yeah. You got some meat and taters, meat
So,
and taters.
We're a whole one entire week into the expansion.
One full week.
How are you feeling about this set? How are you feeling, just overall general feelings towards it, Bleveroni?
The set itself, I like the set. I think it added, obviously, it added a whole new region, which is cool.
Yeah.
I think I felt a lot of different things during the course of this week, because Shurima feels a little weird to me. I'm not 100% sure where it sort of fits in the color pie, is what you would call it, and I think that's fine. We know there's going to be 2 more sets, and who knows how many like Aphelios or KDA type of releases from now until this, Shurima block, if OG Magic terms, the Shurima block, is gonna look. We don't know. And it's kind of made me. It's kind of the way that the release works has kind of made me rethink these releases, because essentially almost the entire week, I've just now gotten to the point where it's like, okay, I'm kind of like not over the new stuff, but like I don't feel bad not playing only new stuff, if that makes sense. Where it's like, I fired up like an Ashe Noxus deck, and yes, it does have LeBlanc in it, but like for all intents and purposes, it's an old deck. It has 1 new card in it. Maybe I think it also has the draw 2 as well, but like it's basically the same old deck.
Yeah, it's the same archetype.
But the way that they do these releases, like, it's almost like a feels bad, and it feels bad perhaps to play the decks, and also like people, you're gonna get like, I mean, to kind of piggyback off of the the net decking topic, people are gonna give you shit if you play, if you played essentially almost any Ionia deck or Bilgewater deck, or what other region didn't really get anything? Targon, any of those regions like paired with each other, there's really no new cards from those regions. Like, yes, there's a handful, but like Targon didn't get any new cards in this set, right? Like Ionia, trying to think, were there any new playable cards in Ionia? Nothing's jumping out.
In Ionia, remind me again of what that one is.
That's the remember back in the day, the card Will of Ionia? That's where that came from. They deleted the region, and it formed
Replaced
into
it with Targon.
No, they replaced it with just Lee Sin, who joined Targon. Yes, who is a Targon champion. Yes.
Okay, so they have the Lee Sin reason. Okay, now I get it. I was confused for a bit.
But my point is, like, if I wanted to play Lisa and Targon, not that every deck needs to get a tool from every single new set, but like if I want to play Lisa and Targon, or if I wanted to play Targon elusives, or if I want to just play Targon plus Ionia for whatever reason, I don't really get to play with any new cards, because we just literally didn't get anything. Okay, we did literally get something, but we effectively didn't get anything playable in those regions.
Yeah, I think the hard thing about it, I think that the content release like this works really well for established regions. Coming out with a region is tough, because I think that the biggest feedback I keep hearing from people, especially people that enjoy Shurima as a region, and want to play these disc decks, what are the Sun Disc decks and stuff. It doesn't have a full region worth of cards yet.
Right.
So if you're playing mono Shurima, you're just handicapping yourself specifically, because there's not a full region. And I went and played I wanted to do Singleton Gauntlet to try and do a Sun Disc thing, and I had to use basically every card there was to do Singleton.
Yeah.
Because there's just not that many cards.
Right. Yeah, it is definitely interesting. I think that and it's the type of thing where it's kind of like watching okay, I'm gonna try not to spoil Game of Thrones. But it's like watching Game of Thrones live, and there's a specific thing, and if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't, it's not going to spoil anything. There's a specific thing that happened at the end of a season, and it was kind of like a huge question going into the next season, right? And there's a lot of fan theories, and people don't know what's going to happen, and watching that live and experiencing that live, because in between those seasons was like, I don't know, 4 months or 6 months. I don't remember how long it was, but like it was a significant amount of time. So like you see the season finale, you're like, holy crap, that was crazy. And then the next season doesn't start for an extended period of time. So you get to sit and brew and think like, what is going on? All these fan theories thing. It was kind of like a collective conscious thing that you got to experience with a lot of people. If you go back and watch all of the Game of Thrones seasons in a row, that moment between the season finale there and the season opener for the next season is completely insignificant. So, like right now we're feeling like, Shurima doesn't really have a full region. So like, and us living it in real time are going to feel that more significantly. But in a year when everything is out for Shurima or whatever it is, people are going to see, oh, well, Shurima is just this. Why don't you just, you can just build a deck very easily. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of not, it's novel, I think is the way to put it. It's like we get to experience this, this little like, mini format or like smaller format that literally won't be experienced by other people. Like we have experienced formats that will never be experienced again by people, and that's kind of cool, but it does feel incomplete in some ways.
Yeah, I agree. I will say I think this is the most fun I've had in the game this release, just because there's so much. There's a lot of new stuff to do. There's a lot of fun stuff to do, and I've just been having a good time with it. I've just been having fun. So and we have something for everyone. If you're someone that's wanting to try hard and get master early, just keep playing Fizz TF, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just really good still.
Yep.
Like I like it when a new set comes out. All the decks that were good before are still good, and there's a smattering of new decks that are also good. Like I like that, and that's kind of how I judge if an expansion is good. And like there's a lot of new decks in every type of deck. Like there's new aggro decks, new control, new mid-range decks that are good. But anything that was good before, still totally playable.
Yeah, it really is. Which is speaks to Runeterra in general. Which is awesome. I do think that there's definitely, at least at the higher at the highest levels of play, there have been some, not necessarily complaints. Well, okay, some of them have definitely been complaints, but like, just like there are right now there exist very polarizing and different sort of pillars of the meta that are very hard to have any sort of game against all of them, which you don't necessarily need, right? There should be counter decks, but it feels like the Mono Fiora deck, for instance, and this kind of, we can start digging into some of the decks and cards that we've been experiencing. Mono Fiora, either Fiora, I think commonly Fiora Freljord or Fiora Shurima as well is one that's floating around. Very polarizing in that it is one of the decks that has, I would argue, has like 90-10 and also 10-90 matchups where it's like, there are some decks that you will literally just, you're better off just conceding when the match starts, and there are some matchups that are just like, this is going to be the easiest thing in the world.
No, it's super funny. I think this is right now specifically some of the most polarizing matchups, specifically with the Fiora decks. I was seeing a lot of Fiora played, and I queued up some Lysandra Swain, and that is like the most one-sided matchup I've ever played. Like it is not even close. I didn't even come close to even remotely thinking I could possibly lose against Fiora with that deck. And like, it's very, like, I feel like there's a lot of very meta dependent decks that we're seeing right now, which is pretty cool. I like that. I think it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. I mean, you've got that, you've got obviously Fizz TF, you've got all flavors of Aphelios decks, you've got Lee Sin, You've got the aggro decks. You've got like there's like Noxus Shurima like aggro sort of burn deck
Yeah.
that almost feels like the old P&Z like Champless
Mhm.
Noxus, but it's running Azir. I think Draven too. Like there's a lot of different
Yeah.
stuff you can play. And I think where part of my like struggles on the ladder have been is that I just want to play everything and I keep switching my
Yeah.
deck and I keep running into bad matchups. Whereas if I would have just stayed with one deck, I probably would have ended up with a much better record overall
Yeah.
than switching over and over again. So I think
No,
part of it
totally
is
agree.
that, and I think a lot of people feel that because it's like, oh, new, and this also is a phenomenon, sort of directly and uniquely linked to Runeterra because it's very easy to have enough cards for many decks. See,
Mhm.
it's not like
Yeah.
Magic where it's like, oh, I'm making blue light control and I'm not paying rent next month.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I better win these tournaments or else I'm gonna get kicked out.
Yep. It's true though. This is a weird thing with specifically this set. Empires of the Ascended. God, I keep forgetting what it's called.
Empires
So
of the Ascended.
yes, this set I got to play test early. Myself and a bunch of other content creators. Riot allowed us to play it far in advance before they even spoiled all the cards. And what's crazy is how our little pocket meta in our playtest group
Mm-hmm.
is completely different, not even close than what the release was, and
Yeah.
it's blown my mind. So, when in our little playtest group, the two most powerful champions were Jarvan and Renekton. Like the
Wow.
Jarvan and Renekton decks were just rolling everything else that was being played,
Really?
and those are not that great of champions right now on the meta.
No, they
It's
are
so
not right now.
crazy. Isn't that wild?
That is wild, and that's like, that was a bunch of content creators and like, people who play the game
Yeah,
for like a lot, right? So it's not
yeah,
like, so, when people are like, oh, well, how could they, they didn't test this or this, and like, how could they let this pass through? It's like, yeah, well, it's hard to test these
yeah.
things, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
uh,
not a bunch of slouches. It was like when we were playtesting the 2v2, it was myself, BBG, and Swim,
mhm.
and we were playing games, and Renekton, he went 5-0, and we were all just like, man, this Renekton card is strong. Like, I think he's going to be the meta. And then we were playing Scouts Jarvan, and BBG and I were like, man, this is a very, like, he's a strong champ. And now he's
Yeah,
like, oh, they're playing Jarvan. I guess I win. It's
right.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, Jarvan is one that I think a lot of people, I mean, if that was the case in your playtest, it makes sense that, folks would be excited about him. But like, he just doesn't fit very well.
Yeah.
And he's expensive, he's kind of clunky. He can be good for sure. It also doesn't help that the card Cataclysm, which I think is Jarvan's.
Yeah, it's his spell.
Yeah, it's just bugged right now. Like the card doesn't work properly,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. Like
That card is really cool.
the card is really cool. Unfortunately, you can't play it because it just doesn't work right.
Yeah.
It allows your opponent to literally move their block to different things if you attack with, if you have Azir tokens. Like if the bonus attack from Cataclysm generates Azir tokens, your opponent can literally just block wherever they want
Yeah.
or not block. Like
Yep.
it just breaks
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't
So
function as removal at that point.
it just doesn't function as anything. I mean, it functions as
Yeah.
a rally at that point, a
Yeah.
bad rally because you don't even get to choose your card. So I think if that card gets fixed, maybe there's some potential for that card. But Jarvan, like, I mean, he's 6 mana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 mana champion. Like, how many 6 mana champions are there right now? There's Darius.
Darius is a champion in the game?
Technically, yes.
Oh yeah. I thought they moved
Uh,
him to Shurima and made him a common.
they did, which also like is another card that I think people overhyped and has been like just all
Yeah,
right.
like super overhyped.
I called it.
People were like, I can't believe this is the biggest power creep on the planet. I'm like, just an all right card.
Yeah, it's certainly fine. It's hard to deal with, but like, have you met blocking? Like it's not
Yeah. So what do we
yeah,
have? We have a Nivea, Darius, Hecarim,
Hacker
Karma,
yeah.
Lux, Nasus, Sejuani.
Okay. Sejuani sees play. Karma, I
Yep.
mean, Karma used to be fine.
Nasus.
Karma used to be fine. Yeah.
Hecarim.
Nasus is
Hecarim's
now
seeing a
seeing
lot of
play.
play.
Hecarim is seeing play now. But like,
Yep.
even like if you look at the entirety of these cards' life cycles, like yes, Lux has had some time in the sun. Karma obviously
Yeah.
has mostly, I think mostly as a 5-drop though, or at least a
Mhm.
lot as a 5-drop. Um,
Yeah.
it takes a lot for a 6-cost champ to be played, I think.
Yeah.
Even Hecarim, who has like such a like massively powerful ability, like only sometimes sees play in very
Mhm.
specific decks.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yep. It's true.
So yeah, Jarvan just not quite there. 6 mana
Now,
champs need to
I got to
come on.
show some love for Jarvan.
Okay.
So Jarvan has helped me create the most fun deck I've had of the new set.
Okay.
It is you're going to be surprised if you haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
It makes use of Jarvan's boat, the dad,
Yep.
that when you summon him, if Jarvan's out, he gives everyone Scout and Challenger.
Yep.
You know what the best card in the game to have Scout is?
What is that?
Teemo. So
Oh my
I made
god.
a Teemo Jarvan boat deck that runs
And
3 copies
and
of Jarvan
the
third or whatever
third,
he
yeah,
is.
Jarvan the third.
Yep.
Wow. So actually the Teemo Scout deck. You'll love to see
Yep.
it. That's awesome.
It is the most fun deck I've made. And it's not playable if you like winning the game, but it is very fun.
Ooh, speaking of not super playable unless you don't like winning the game, and a card that is so underwhelming that we literally forgot to put it on the list. Talia is one that just like
I think she's my highest champion mastery, by the way.
wow. That's funny.
She's horrible. She's horrible.
She's just like, not that great.
She's just not good is the problem.
Yeah, I think I really want her to be like a 3-mana 1/2 instead. Like 2/4 are just such lackluster stats, and
Yeah.
she costs 5 mana, which is like, yeah, and like I've seen some people be cute and like copy Veiled Temple, and like you can do stuff with Lysandra with Thralls, but like, couldn't you just play other cards too?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No, she's like I've had a lot of fun with her. I was playing her with
yeah,
the surprise Teemo with the copying hex cores, which was really
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah.
I played her in the Lysandra deck with Howling Abyss. Copying that's fun,
Okay.
but obviously not ever good.
Right.
Like she does cool things. I think at some point once we get more landmarks that like matter than being copied,
Right.
like she's good if you double a Preservarium. Her ability is strong. Like when she
Yeah.
does, if she can level up and attack with a landmark on, like it's strong. But it's not usually worth the card slot.
Yeah.
The champion slot is tough.
Yeah, champion slot is tough. She's 5 mana. She's got ass stats. Like it's not.
Yeah.
I definitely think like, and like she can give you value, right? Like you mentioned, you can copy a Preservarium, draw a card. Actually, I guess you would draw 2 cards from that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool, but like even like 5 mana 2/4 enter when you play it, draw 2 cards. Situationally draw 2 cards is the problem.
Yeah.
Just a lot of things going against her. I do agree. Every new landmark that comes out, you get to go, what if I had 2 of this out with Talia? That's interesting.
Yeah.
So certainly a cool design. I think that the numbers are just a little bit off, and also the fact that you can like remove her from combat and her ability just does nothing is like.
Which I think that should probably get fixed because that's like the whole the Vlad bug.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's working as intended or if it's a bug. So
Her stats are aggressively bad though. Like a 2-4.
For
That is the
5 mana, yeah.
I mean, other than Heimerdinger, that's the worst stats on a 5-drop.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's
Yeah.
bad.
Not
I mean,
great, but
before someone says, "Well, Vi is also a 2-4." No, she's not. She's never a 2-4.
Vi
She's
also has
always
Challenger and
been.
Tough.
Yep.
So if Talia has Challenger and Tough, I will start to consider her. Also, Vi
If
gets
she had,
bigger really quickly.
yeah, if she had Challenger, she might be actually pretty good.
Yeah, that would be sweet. But how about a champion that has blown away expectations, Saucy? One that I said, and I quote, is probably not as bad as people think. Super dedicated to it, but Leblanc.
Yeah.
She's now I don't think that she is stellar. She's not, breaking
She's
the bank, but she's
yeah.
good.
She is played kind of usually the same way you think of like Elise or even Darius or a lot of times Draven, to be honest, but you're playing it because of the body. Like she's got excellent stats for her,
Yeah.
for what you're trying to do with her.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually played quite a bit of LeBlanc today. We were playing a lot of Ashe LeBlanc.
Yeah.
And she's exactly what I said. I'm like, she's not a bad champion. She's just not super exciting. I've never used her ability. I just beat people in with a 3-mana 5/2 quick attack. Like,
Yeah.
I just beat people's face with a 5 attack 3-drop.
Yeah. I will say I have used her her spell to copy the draw card units.
Oh yeah.
The assessors. If they get any buff in their 5-power assessor, it's just 2 mana, play another 5+ power assessor and draw 1,000,000 cards in that deck. So definitely cool. Yes, she does die to Mystic Shot. Yes, she does die to Avalanche. Yes, this, that, and the other. But like you go into the matchup knowing that, right? So you can potentially play around that, or at least lessen the detriment that brings you. It's like if you're just
and like the decks you're playing her in, if people are using removal on her, that's removal out of their hand, and
right,
they're not using it on other stuff.
And one other champion besides Ashe that has been used a lot with her is Sivir, who I think has kind of performed just about as well as people thought. Like she's just like solid. I don't think anyone's saying that she's broken or that she's awful. She's just like kind of solid. She is annoying to deal with because Spell Shield is really good. Quick Attack is also really good. Which, folks are probably saying, "Oh, but you said that the 5-mana 6/4 Overwhelm Spell Shield wasn't that good." It's like, well, Quick Attack is harder to deal with than Overwhelm unless you're literally killing someone with Overwhelm.
She's a 4-mana 5/3. It's not bad at all.
Difference between 4 and 5 is a lot for mana.
And also, she's not hard to level up.
No, you just do the things that you're already going to be doing.
Yeah. That was not having played a lot of when I play tested in the pre-beta thing. I didn't play a lot of LeBlanc. I was surprised with how easy she is to level up, though. Like, dealing 15 damage is so easy to do.
The cool thing with LeBlanc is that she really maybe no, I wouldn't say to a fault. I think that was just interesting. She made me reconsider attack order more than most units have, because it's like, okay, I need to hit 15 as close to 15 exactly as possible, and then I want to start another 15. I don't want to go over too much, and like if I that was kind of interesting. At least it does, and the eye only kind of helps you with that. It's just quicker to do the math yourself. So if you're not good at that math, that sucks. The eye can't really help you there like it can with combat math. I mean,
math is overpowered.
It can help you, but it is just quicker. It's much quicker to do the math rather than like trial and error by moving things around and checking the eye. That'll take forever. But yeah, I thought that was cool. I think, and the other thing is like, yes, she dies to Mystic Shot. But like, what if your opponent's just not playing P and Z? Like, you know,
Yeah.
have you ever considered that?
It's the dumbest thing. I mean, it's the whole thing. Oh well, none of these gems are playable because Hush
Yeah.
exists.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, the amount of times people were telling me I couldn't play Nasus before because Hush was a card has made me laugh a little bit over the last few days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of Nasus, let's just talk about him. How's your
His stats
Nasus?
though, he sucks. 6 mana, 2/2.
Worst
That's just
champion, right?
shit stats. I love Big Doggo though. Made him prismatic instantly.
Nice.
I mean, he like I said, I was saying he's one of my champions I was the most excited about, not just because I force him in TFT all the time,
Hmm.
but I just love the ability. And turns out he's good, very good.
Yeah, he is good. He's definitely different than I thought he was going to be. I thought
Yeah,
I was thinking more like, oh, this is just Dehundur in a different region, but he actually just doesn't function as much like that.
yeah.
Because obviously you need to slay, not just have your units die or have their
Mhm.
units die.
It's
Um,
really easy to make him gigantic.
yeah.
The two main variants we're seeing obviously is the Thresh Nasus and the Kindred Nasus decks
Mhm.
because he works really well in Shadow Isles because killing your own stuff with your own cards does count as slaying.
Yeah.
Um, and when you pull him with Thresh and get a gigantic like 14/14 dog with Fearsome,
Yeah.
he's sick. Once he's leveled up, he's a monster. His ability, like
Mm,
giving them -1 attack, that stacks with multiples is so
yeah.
good.
And let me tell you,
So
people
good.
don't play around that. I know
No.
because I don't play around that. And I've
Yeah.
gotten blown out so many times. I'm like, oh, he can't possibly win. And also, again, I've found this out the hard way. Is like, oh, like, okay, chump block Nasus, and then it's like, okay, do this, and then on next turn I'll be able to open attack and do this. Like, okay, great. It's like, okay, set up my blocks, attacks go through, and then the cutscene animation happens. Like, oh god, this 7/7 Nasus is actually going to be a 10/10 by the time it gets to attack.
Yep.
Oh crap, it's leveled. Oh
Yep.
god, I'm just dead, aren't I?
Yep. Once
Uh,
he's leveled, it's tough. It's really tough to get through that.
yeah, and it's also like not super tough to get him to level,
No,
which is great.
it's easy. Really easy.
Now you mentioned the Thresh and the Kindred version. Have
Yeah.
you had a preference onto which one you like better?
Yeah, I've tested a lot, so I've been getting ready. I'm playing in another one of those Riot Grand Prix tournaments this
Ooh.
weekend. So I've been testing kind of deck lists for that. And
Hmm.
It was actually Mo and I today. We were talking about it, and I think the Thresh Nasus version is a more overall better like deck against the field for laddering. I think
Hmm.
if you're on ranked, I think that's just better. In a tournament environment, I think Kindred is better because it beats other mid range decks really well.
Yeah.
And you can target things with it, but they're both good. The Thresh one though is so damn fun. It is
Yeah.
so fun. And I just love Thresh, so it's fun to play him again.
Thresh is definitely sick. I've really liked. I did switch from the Kindred to the Thresh version, but
Mhm.
I think I agree with that assessment as well. Where like Thresh is just going to be a better generic answer because he's just sort of generically powerful. But the Kindred is an interesting one because I feel like Kindred has a higher spread.
Mhm.
Um, he's got a higher spread of power, or they, I don't know, I guess it's
Yeah,
technically
it's
two characters.
two entities.
Yeah, they have a higher spread where like if you don't have any backup for Kindred, I mean it's still a 5/5 quick attack for, or 4/4 quick attack for 5, which is still fine. But like it's not necessarily as good as like a naked Thresh without any sort of backup.
Yeah.
Because Challenger's probably just better than that. But when you do have that backup, and like yes, you can play around Kindred, but it is tough to, right? Like
Yeah.
it definitely can paint you into a corner pretty quickly. And it can be absolutely devastating.
Yeah. Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
So Kindred has definitely been a good one.
Yeah, she's just a good general champion. Or they are a good general champion.
I think you can say whichever one. I don't know. I don't think I don't think
Both.
that the fictional character is really going to care that much. But
Oh,
maybe
they are.
if
They're
they
gonna come and beat us up.
that would be scary considering that they are essentially the Runeterra version of the Grim Reaper. So I hope
Yep.
that that doesn't happen.
Their voice lines are so
Yeah.
good.
Mhm.
They're so good. They're really good.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Who else do we
Did we
have
talk
on
about
here?
Renekton? Did we talk about
Nope.
Renekton?
Nope.
Let's talk about Renekton. So it's funny because Renekton was my of the Ascendants was the one I was the least excited about. I still
Mhm.
feel the same. Um, when he levels up, he's pretty strong, but he's been pretty very underwhelming. I've been playing a
Yeah.
ton of Sejuani. I played a lot of Sejuani Renekton today,
Mhm.
and it's not amazing.
Yeah. I think the original intent was like, oh, well, we're going to have overwhelms, right? Because, it seemed kind of a little bit like overwhelm might be like a sub theme of Shurima, but really there's only the 2 cards of the
Yeah, the Ruin Runner and the
Rune Runner and
Renekton.
Renekton.
Think
Maybe there will
so.
be more eventually. Um, so like it seems more like the identity was on the Azir side and like the Sand Soldier and tokens and also the Rockhopper, which is like a good card, but like doesn't necessarily fit. I mean, it does fit in the Overwhelm deck, right? Because you get to put
Yeah,
vulnerable, but it doesn't have vulnerable. And like if you're, you kind of what happened to me when I was building that deck originally was like, I'd start with all these overwhelms, or I'd start with the Shrima cards. I'm like, oh, there's really not a ton of overwhelm. It's like, well, let me trim some of this and like I put some Freljord overwhelm cards back in. Like, I'm like, oh, this is almost mono Freljord at this point.
yeah,
And it's like, I can just run something else instead of these.
yep,
Um, and yeah, Renekton, I mean, I've seen a little bit of Renekton, but really, I think he kind of just like has not really panned out. Again, you need additional cards to have him pop off, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but like the payoff is like you get a slightly bigger guy. It's not like Lee
yeah,
Sin where you need things to make Lee Sin work, but the payoff is you win the game or you can completely control the board, and also
yeah,
literally every single spell is a thing that helps him. It's like you
yep,
need specific stuff for Renekton, and he needs to survive. He doesn't protect himself. He only gets a little bit bigger, and yeah.
yep. No, I agree. Yeah, he's I think we'll see as the set is like
Hmm.
fleshed out, we'll see more Renekton, but right now, he's just okay.
Yeah. How about the other Ascended, Azir? How have you been liking Azir?
Zir is strong. He is stronger than I expected, even after playing him before. Like he
Hmm.
seemed good, but not as good as he's been. Like we've seen a
Yeah.
lot of good versions. We've seen the Hecarim version,
Yep.
the Lucian version,
Yep.
and a lot of the Noxus like Draven and Darius versions
Hmm.
that are really strong too. That just run 3 decimates main deck.
Yep.
Um, it's he is aggressive. That dude
Yeah.
can get some hits in.
Yeah, he really can. And I think he has a lot of like he's got a lot of play to him, especially the
Yeah.
the Lucian version. I know
Hmm.
Mo was a big proponent of that deck, and he built it less like an aggro deck and more like a combo deck. I know he was talking on his stream about how it's more of a combo deck than an aggro deck, and like it makes sense. Like you don't just play, your Sand Soldier 2/1 on turn 1 to hit for 4. Like that's good in some decks, but in that one it's not. It's like you want to set up a turn where it's like you can set up an Azir, and then next turn you open with like some Sand Soldier generation, and then play a Lucian, and Lucian like essentially has to level up unless they kill him, and like you can really do some crazy things there. And like
Yep.
I have been forced in many times to be like, I guess I just die here because no matter how I block, either I'm dying or Lucian is going to level up and attack again. It's like
Yeah.
so crazy how explosive that deck can be.
Yeah, and it's his stats are really unique too. He's got a huge ass, which is pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool because it lets him get in some attacks, even if it's only for 1
Yeah.
damage or whatever at the start. Like it's still you can safely attack when block with him, and once he's leveled up, he gets big. He gets
Yeah.
big.
He gets big. I like his spell a lot, actually. The
Yeah.
Arise, because it's like one of the rare cards that lets you put units into play at burst speed, which
Yep.
means you can just like on open action, you have enough mana, you can technically play 4 Sand Soldiers and attack all as an open attack, which is awesome.
Yep. Yeah,
I
and
like
like you
that a
can
lot.
pump in combat with him once he's leveled
Mm-hmm.
up.
Mm-hmm.
You can level him up mid combat.
Yep.
Like you can do some crazy stuff with it. It's a cool spell. I think my favorite thing about Azir is all of the Azir decks aren't just built by themselves. Like it's not you
Right.
just play the same list. There's a lot of finagling and a lot of finesse to building these
Mm-hmm.
decks, and there's a lot of interesting choices. Like if you're playing the Shadow Isles version, it's like, do you want to play things like the Neverglade Collector? And
Yeah.
go a little slower? Do you want to play the what is it? The O3 pesky dude? What is it?
Uh,
What's the
the
dumb thing's name?
it's
When things die, you
No, I
ping
know
your
exactly
opponent.
what you're talking about. 3 mana, 0
Yeah, I
3.
can't think of it.
Someone in
Or
chat
do
will
you
say
want to
it.
go crazy and play like the 0-drop 1/1 ephemeral pesky specters
Prankster,
and
yeah.
butcher, yeah, everything. So yeah, there's a lot of build. Even the like the Noxus versions. Like there's a Darius version I see and a Draven
Mm-hmm.
one, and they're not just you don't just have all the same stuff. Even the new Shurima 1-drop, the 3/1.
Yeah.
You can run that depending on how aggressive you want to be. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I have seen that card getting played. I'm not sold on that card at all.
Same.
But I have been seeing it get played.
I've tried it, but I'm not in on it.
Yeah. I'm looking at the list. I think that there's still a few more that I want to talk about
Yeah.
specifically. One is Lee Sin, which of course is not a new card, and yes, I think Lee Sin Zoe or even Lee Sin Ophelio still sort of the gold standard for Lee Sin decks, and they look relatively similar after the
Mhm.
expansion. But Lee Sin Targon, sorry, not Targon, Lee Sin Shurima has popped up as a very interesting alternative. Saucy, have you
Yeah.
seen or played with this deck at all?
I've seen a couple different versions. I was playing I was playing a worse version that had Renekton in it. And it's
Mm,
just definitely worse
yeah,
than playing it with other stuff. But yeah, Shurima has a lot of good spells that work really
yeah,
well. And like they have a lot of good champion tutors also in
yep,
Shurima.
yeah. It's got the 0 mana rights of something or something
Uh,
rights. That one, you can just get Lee Sin. The version that I saw I ran a little bit. Ran that, and Lee Sin was the only champion, so um it was you automatically found Lee Sin there. The lucky find cards, those sort of like Sivir treasures, I guess is what
mhm.
they're related to. The
Yeah.
interesting thing about those is that they count as 3.
Yeah.
They count as 3 spell. Well, so they count as no, they count as
The
3
treasures
spells.
themselves count as 2, I
Yeah,
think.
which is weird. So you play, yeah. The treasures themselves count as 2 for
Yep.
some reason. So you play the spell, that counts as 1, and then like I
The
don't
free thing you play counts as 2 spells.
something like that. Yeah, it's weird, and I don't know if it's a bug or if it's intended, but like you level up Lee Sin wildly
Real
fast,
fast.
wildly fast, and also they grant Lee Sin abilities, some of which are
Yep.
Overwhelm, hello, Spell Shield, yeah, and then you can obviously give him power, and the other ones don't necessarily matter that much, but like they count as spell procs for Lee Sin. They give him literally the 2 things that you care about, Overwhelm and Spell Shield, and they can also give him power. Like it does it all, and it can do it really fast. Like I heard talks of people saying that, yeah, I killed my opponent on turn 5 with Lee Sin. Like because you can set up the landmark on the turn before, that generates 2 lucky finds, which I think counts as either 4 or 6 spells. I might be just misremembering how it works, but it generates a lot of spells for Lee Sin, levels up depending on the finds you get it. Plus, you have 3 additional mana if you bank 3 spell mana. It's actually can be it can be insanely quick with that deck. Now, is it better than Targon? I probably would argue that it's not, but it is definitely something. It is definitely something new and a really cool spin on Lee Sin.
Yeah, I agree. It's super cool. I think that's kind of been one of my favorite things about Shurima in general is just
Yeah,
kind of like the flexibility that they offer, which is different regions and decks. It's really cool. I've been
yeah.
enjoying it.
It gives a little bit of a different flavor, which is cool. Now, there's two more things I want to talk about, Saucy, and I'll save the champion for last, but I do want to talk about this card, which has been hotly talked about, but is not a champion, and that is timelines, the concurrent timelines card, 1 mana P&Z spell. Of course, we talked about this on the podcast last time, and if you have not been living under a rock, I've either seen this happen or have heard it talked about. If you have concurrent timelines active, you cast Ledros, there's a 60% chance that you find Dreadway. Ledros plus Dreadway equals GG. A lot of people have not liked this interaction, Saucy. What are your thoughts about it? Have you played it? Have you played against it? What do you think?
I played a little bit of it. I don't really like playing the deck. For whatever reason, I just don't enjoy it. Like the combo itself is cool, but the deck
Yeah.
that you build around with it, I'm not into. This has been one of the more polarizing decks I've seen in the community.
Yeah.
People who like the deck absolutely love it, like militantly love it. And there's a lot of very vocal people that dislike this very,
Yeah.
very much. A lot of big content creators like Mogwai
Yep.
has put out a lot of statements, very long statements about how he said if he wasn't creating content for Runeterra, he would stop playing it while this existed in the game. It is a super feels bad. It does feel bad to lose to. I haven't been seeing it that much myself. Um, but it is very strong when it happens.
Yeah.
I don't like playing the deck. I think it's pretty boring. I don't think it's that fun.
Yeah.
And I've never gotten upset about losing to it myself, but I don't know. It's one of those things. It is the way it is. If you enjoy it, cool, play it. If you hate it, don't.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of different arguments that are being put forth from the community. One is that this card feels a lot more Hearthstone-y than a lot of other cards in
Yes.
Runeterra,
Yes.
which I get that point. I don't necessarily think that the way that concurrent timeline works from that side of it is necessarily bad. Like concurrent timelines being used on 3 drops, I think that that's just fun. It's
Yeah, it's a
maybe
blast.
in general good. So like you're investing in something that is on average going to benefit you, right? Sometimes at high roll, sometimes at low rolls. A lot of the time, you're just going to get a 3-mana 3/3, right? So you can turn your 3/1 into a 3/3 or whatever. I think that side of it is fine. The people who are like, oh, well, this is more like Hearthstone. It's like, kind of, but you do get to pick, which feels more in the lines of the RNG that Runeterra is known for. So I'm fine with that. From the Ledros side of it, specifically in the combo, it's tough. It's because it's technically interactable with, like, you can obviously bounce the units, you can kill the Dreadway, you can silence all those things, which is fine. But like you have to have it or else you just lose,
Yeah.
unless you have a tough nexus, which will lead us to our last card I want to talk about. But it, like, I feel like a lot of it would be actually Petrify on Twitter put an interesting thought that said just change concurrent timelines to be a 1-mana landmark and a lot of the problem goes away. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, you can just run landmark removal, which makes sense. That just adds an extra layer of interactability, which I think helps. the fact that it's a spell that basically turns into a what in Magic would be called an emblem, which is uninteractable. That part of that has it feels bad, and then also like if they made Dreadway and Ledros just not cost the same amount,
Yep.
maybe this is the time that Ledros gets pushed to 10 mana, like make him a 10 mana, 10/7 or 10/8 or whatever.
I'd be fine if they buffed the Dreadway and made it 8 mana
Yeah,
and like even lowered its stat by 1 or something, but
yeah,
not like it's
either
seeing
or.
play
It
anywhere
sees
else.
0 play, so like
Yeah,
I don't know if giving it specifically stat, I mean the cost reduction. I don't think that's going to change much. I
probably
don't
not.
think that most Bilgewater decks running Gangplank right now are like chomping at the bit for that 8 mana Dreadway. So make it 8 mana, keep Ledros 9 mana, make Ledros 10 mana, buff his stats, whatever. Like they've done
Yeah,
that in the past. It's not out of the question. Ledros is one of the cards that I think is sort of a pillar of competitive play almost regardless. Like he's just always been around,
yeah,
especially when he was 8 mana way back in the day.
yeah.
Just
And
make that combo not exist, and I think we're
exactly, I agree. Like it is a very, very feels bad combo. Um, a One of the things I don't like about it is it's such a crush deck. Like there isn't a ton of skill to the deck. Like you just survive and then play a unit and hope they have nothing, and that
right.
kind of I don't like decks like that. I
Yeah,
think that's one of the reasons I don't like it is you literally do nothing for the whole game, get to turn 9 and play a unit and win. Like you don't need to do anything. You just it's very skill unintensive, and the
yeah,
rest of the deck is pretty not great anyways.
yeah. It's just like
Um,
removal
Stuff.
and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
So I just don't. It feels bad. I mean, we've seen them change cards that are just feel bad cards in the past, just because of how bad they feel, like to lose against. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. It'll get changed, I'm sure.
yeah. I think that there's a lot of different things that they could do that are small tweaks that make it feel fine.
Hmm.
Um, the landmark thing is interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool idea.
Changing the cost of either Ledros and or Dreadway, I think will work.
Yeah,
But I don't mind the card itself, even
I
though
love
like the
timelines. It's fun.
Hearthstone part of it. I think that that's actually cool or fun, and I
Yeah.
think it's probably fine.
I
Um,
think timelines itself is good for the game. Like it's a lot of fun. I know a lot of people like it. I've had fun with the card. I played
yeah.
it with a Shurima Predict, a deck that was really fun because like some
Mm-hmm.
of your bad statted, like the landmark removal chick, you
Mm-hmm.
can turn her into a well statted unit. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for the card.
Yeah. I definitely think so as well. I've seen decks, and this will actually lead into our last card that we're going to be talking about. But I've seen a Lysandra Trundle P&Z deck that utilizes timelines with Trundle Pillar, because it's like
Yeah.
you get a free 8/8 and it's no longer a 0/6. It is a 8 cost unit that you get to choose, which is pretty strong. So
Yeah.
um yeah. So Lysandra, last card that we want to talk about. I know, Saucy, this was at least going into the set before release. You talked about how this was your favorite card in the new set. Has anything changed? Is it no longer your favorite card? Are you still on the Lysandra train?
Still my favorite. Love Lysandra. She's everything I want in a card. I'm the diehard Azorius control magic
Mm-hmm.
player. I like draw go. And yeah, there's been a few. I'm still on the fence of what my favorite version is.
Mm-hmm.
I really like. Have you seen the Ionia version that
Oh,
plays
I played it.
Monastery of Harana?
Yep,
That
I
deck is
played it.
sick.
Yep.
That deck is fun. I had one game. It was against Azir aggro, and my one tavern keeper healed me probably 23, 25 health. Like
Yeah.
every single turn, I heal 3,
Yep.
and it's like you're playing all the board wipes.
Yep.
Blighted. I don't even know if it's not even specifically Lysandra, even though I've been playing Lysandra everything, but the new tools we got in PNZ, like Blighted Ravine, is amazing,
Yeah.
really, really
In
good.
Freljord, yeah.
Yeah, all the Freljord cards we've gotten have been amazing. I still
Yep.
love the Sisters card.
Hmm.
It's just felt good. It's felt really good.
Yeah, Blighted Ravine has been sick. I've really liked Lysandra. I did not think I was gonna like her so much. Um, but yeah, I've actually, the deck I've been playing recently has been a Lysandra deck. More traditional Lysandra, Shadow Isles, but I did play a bunch of the Lysandra Ionia deck, and I do think that is an interesting one for sure.
Yeah.
And like it like can attack on so many angles. Like it can just be a control deck and win with, Ledros or whatever. Like the old TLC decks, but also like sometimes you just have the Watcher combo and just go off, which is pretty sweet. So I've really been like, oh, and also sometimes you just stall out the game and you have a ticking time bomb that turns into an 8/8,
Yeah.
which is sweet. So
Yeah,
I've
those
really
are,
been
I
liking it.
mean, in Magic, my favorite games are just stall out.
Yeah,
Like usually have one win con, maybe two if you're crazy,
yeah,
and just win with inevitability. And that's what Lysandra allows you to do. And there's a lot of ways
yeah,
you can play her. She's not always just specifically a strict control tool. Like the Swain Lysandra deck, I keep
yeah.
arguing is more of a mid-range deck.
Hmm.
But you just have Lysandra as well as like she's making giant things. She's a secondary threat.
Yep.
She's easy to level because you're playing Swain's boat. She keeps you alive. She's got good stats. It's just great. Just good stuff.
Yeah, and I will say I am very much a fan of the deck to the point where that is the first. This is the first deck in the new expansion that I have fully prismatic. Is the Shadow Isles Lysandra control deck. So I
I have
am.
Timo Lysandra is my first full prismatic deck. I do have that
Nice.
fully prismatic. I'm close on the Shadow Isles ones. I have less. The Shurima one I'm really close on.
I think I had a lot of the cards prismatic from old TLC decks with like Ledros and all that. So like it wasn't a ton of new cards prismatic, but like Blighted Ravine, Lysandra, Ice Shard, all those cards are newly minted. So
Mhm.
yeah, I really am liking that. I did not I did not think I was gonna really care for Lysandra, but she does feel like kind of like Splinter Twin in the sense of like Lee Sin kind of feels like Splinter Twin, where it's like you're kind of playing a control deck, but also it has a combo
Yeah.
kill in it, which I like that style of deck. So
Mhm.
I am happy that these things exist. So I'm liking it a lot.
Yep. Yeah, no, she's great. And if you haven't checked it out, the Monastery of Harana version we were talking about,
Yeah,
Glop, go check him out on Twitter. He hit #1 Americas with the Harana
yeah,
Lysandra combo deck, and it's running like Retreat and Harana and Homecoming main
yeah.
deck.
Homecoming has been
Homecoming,
sweet.
Mina Swiftfoot in the deck. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it
It's a
it
really cool deck.
it's a good deck. That's the list I was playing a bit of.
It is hard to play well. It is very difficult to play.
Lot of decisions that you have to prep for in advance and know like your outs and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
very, very good in general. But we are very, very out of time, Saucy.
Yeah.
So I think we got through I think we got through everyone that we wanted to talk about. Lots of new stuff with the new set. So been super fun. But Saucy, where can people find you on the internet when you're not here on the podcast?
Yeah. You can check me out on my website. It's just saucy.live. I launched a second YouTube channel this last week as well. That's a bunch
Nice.
of nonsense. I have a video on there on how to make mac and cheese. Uh, just dumb shit on there. But yeah, lots. I'm streaming all day, every day now. And then this Saturday, if you're listening to this on a regular time, I'm in that Riot tournament where I'll be winning
Yes.
first place with something that has Timo in it. I don't
Yes.
know yet.
I mean, you are the winningest Riot Grand Prix player across 2 games. So, I mean, you
Yep.
literally are the favorite. So let's all collectively spirit bomb for Saucy to win again. for this Riot Grand Prix. But if you want to find the podcast on Twitter, you can go to @Runeterrable. You can go to Runeterrable.com, DeckPics.Live. But the best place is, like we mentioned before, discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. That is where all the coolest kids hang out, where all the giveaways and whatnot are happening as well. And if you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at @_Blevins. If you want to see me cast on Fridays, go over to twitch.tv/GiantSlayerLOR as I cast Fight Nights. So, yeah, that's going to be it, everyone. Thank you all who watched live. And thank you everyone who is listening in podcast world as well. But that is going to be it for this week's episode for Saucy. I'm the Blevins, and we'll be back next week to talk about some more. What game is it? Oh, yeah, Legends of Runeterrable. Yep. That was fun!